Hi everyone and welcome to another video. I feel like with the rise of booktok, a lot more people are talking about dark romance. Personally, I don't read those books. In fact, I don't really read books in general. My biggest interaction with books is probably watching those book rebinding TikToks. I need to change that. But some of the discourse surrounding the dark romance genre is actually pretty intriguing to me, and I wanted to share my thoughts about it. In particular, I want to lay out reasons why I think people might find enjoyment from the dark romance genre and why we shouldn't make immediate judgments about the people who enjoy these books. So, let's get started. Part 1. Defining dark romance. A good starting point is probably to define what dark romance is. In a video by Minale, dark romance books are defined as romance books containing dark themes. Meanwhile, if you go on the subreddit romance books, it's defined as romance books containing taboo subjects. In simpler terms, if villain, why hot? This genre has even existed in the past in the form of the Bodice Ripper books, but it started gaining more traction mainly from the booktok community on TikTok. People over there are sharing their recommendations, reviews, as well as reactions of them reading these books. You can have your own opinions about the booktok community, but personally for me, I kind of like the fact that they're encouraging people to read a bit more. But you can't deny there are a lot of discourses about this community. Just look at YouTube and the many booktok essays, including this one actually. But there has been more attention on the dark romance corner of the booktok community. So I just have a question. Why do we have so much opinions or a big problem with people who enjoy dark romance? Part 2. Dark romance versus violent movies. Funky Frogbait did this amazing video about booktok that draws a similar argument to this argument. Why is it that people, particularly female readers who enjoy dark romance, receive a lot more scrutiny than other target audiences? Why should a person who enjoys reading books about romancing the mafia be looked down upon when you have people enjoying watching violent films where you get embroiled in the mafia? Why is dark romance looked down upon for its dark themes, whereas action films or horror films where you can see gore and blood, they are not seen as taboo? Because all of these themes, they can be incredibly controversial and taboo, but I like to think that both of these audiences recognize the fact that they are indeed consuming a piece of media that is fictional. And I think it's particularly mean to assume automatically that a predominantly female audience is not aware of that fact. I like to think that the dark romance books readers are smarter than people give them credit for. Dark romance enjoyers most likely know that the mafia does not operate the way that it's usually described in their novels. The same way that action fans are aware that the Continental in the John Wick universe, it doesn't, assassins don't operate that way, okay? Likewise, these dark romance readers, they're probably aware that these romances are not something that you aspire towards either. This not only extends to the readers themselves, but I like to think that dark romance writers are also aware of this fact as well, that they are writing a piece of media that is fictional. For example, just look at fanfiction writers. If you go to fanfiction websites like Archive of Our Own, you can see that they have tags.
I don't know what I expected.
And that tag is like an implicit agreement between the writer and the reader that they are consuming media that is taboo and is not supposed to be, aspired towards or replicated in the real world. And just because someone is writing or reading these themes, it does not mean that they are endorsing these themes. In fact, engaging with dark themes or taboo subjects can be cathartic to some people. Part 3. The Greek Theater and Catharsis. I am currently studying performing arts, and in one of our first few weeks, we discussed the Greek theater. There are plenty of videos out there that explain the history of Greek theater, but I want to focus on one of its features, namely catharsis. Overall, the Greeks find a lot of value in theater. For example, it is a tool to teach people about democracy, demonstrating how people can engage in dialogue to question the state and the structure. A good example that demonstrates this feature is the play Antigone, but these plays are also used to help soldiers who are returning from war find healing as well. By experiencing all of these big emotions, playing out on stage in a controlled space, it is hoped that these people will be able to kind of like cry their hearts out and then hopefully return home feeling a smidge better. This is what we call catharsis. Similarly to that, catharsis is not only in like feeling big emotions and then like crying your hearts out. It can also be in the form of seeing all these taboo subjects play out on stage as well. The hope is once you see all these taboo subjects play out on stage, you can hopefully like purge yourself out of the desire to, like enact on those taboo desires so you can go back to being a productive member of the society. I can see dark romance being something like that. Readers can experience these forbidden romances but in a controlled space. But I do think there is a line to this. Part 4, a rebuttal. But just because I'm making a defense for dark romance does not mean I can't critique them either. There are often times where writers are just simply not aware of the problematic nature of their works. Just look at Colleen Hoover books or the 50 Shades of Grey series. This results in them continuously romanticizing these problematic behaviors. I'm not saying this is something that is exclusive to dark romance. A lot of movies or shows have these issues as well. For example, the depiction of violence against women in Game of Thrones is kind of questionable. Just a brief tangent, I can see people being like, oh, but that's accurate for the time period. Like, women are not considered humans in that period. But at the same time, like, you don't really have to show it on screen, I also feel there are definitely like subject and themes that should never be in a dark romance book because they're just too taboo. Like, for example, you simply cannot write a dark romance book with minors. I just think it's gonna be icky. But there's also an issue where these dark romance books are also aimed at younger audiences, especially those who might not be aware of the problematic nature of these books. I know we keep talking about how we should treat younger audiences with more respect and we should, think of them as very intelligent people. But at the same time, I think younger audiences can still be impressionable. They're still growing up and they're still not exposed to the harrowing realities of the world. But you can actually achieve a good balance of not talking down to your audience while still promoting good values. For example, just look at the Hunger Games books. But in general, I think we should always consume media with a critical eye. Part 5, the importance of critical thinking. Whether you like it or not, art is always created with an agenda. Authors, directors, artists, they are all products of their environment. So they have a particular set of values, and these values will be reflected in their art. Whenever you read, watch, or consume anything, you will need to critically analyze it and you need to form your own opinions about it. I think this is especially important, especially for younger audiences who are reading dark romance books. This is why it's really great that we have these commentary channels like Kennie JD or withcindy, because these are good entry points for young readers to start critically analyzing their media consumption. In Kennie JD's video about movies like After, there are usually tangents where Kennie would discuss how problematic the relationship between the main character and her love interest is. And I think those tangents are good because it invites younger people to think and to recognize these romances as something that they should not aspire towards. But I get it, sometimes you just want to watch things or read things to unwind, turn your brain off a little bit and just relax. And that's fine, but you should at least be aware that what you are watching, reading, consuming, maybe those things are fictional and they do not reflect real life. Conclusion. I feel like people immediately jump into conclusions when it comes to people who read dark romance. I like to think that these readers are actually aware that what they are reading is entirely fictional and does not reflect real life. There might be a possibility that dark romance do serve like a catharsis for these people. But it can be dangerous too when people, especially younger audiences, do not engage with these books critically. I think, in general, it's good for us to be engaged with our media consumption beyond just the surface level. Anyway, thank you so much for coming with me on this journey. There are plenty of videos on YouTube discussing booktok, and I'm just really thankful that you guys decided to watch this video. If you like this video, please consider engaging with it. Like, comment, share it, and maybe subscribe to the channel too. I post almost daily shorts. I'm trying to post consistently, and I try to consistently upload one long-form video every week. So, question of the week, have you guys read any dark romance books? In general, do you enjoy dark romance? Let me know in the comments. But apart from that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, have a good day.